Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about the real estate market in Serbia. So this is an important video if you want, for example, to invest in real estate in Central Europe, either because you want to move to the region or as an investment if you want to buy, for example, a buy-to-let property in Central or Eastern Europe. We're going to cover a number of topics in this video, and we're going to start with the state of Serbian property market, most specifically prices. We're going to talk about the capital Belgrade, then Novi Sad, the second largest city in the country, and prices also everywhere else in Serbia. Then we are going to cover rental yields and growth perspectives in the country, followed by getting a residence permit when you buy a property in Serbia. Then we're going to take a look at the best websites to find property in Serbia and how to use them. You can use them either in Serbian or translate to English. We're going to cover that. Moving on to financing and mortgages. And actually in Serbia you can get a number of advantages in terms of financing and mortgages, even if you are not a resident of Serbia. And finally, I'll give you my personal verdict on whether it is a good idea to invest in real estate in Serbia. We'll get to that, but in some cases it might be, in other cases there might be better countries for that purpose. And before we start with the actual content, I have to say this, like always I have to say this, which is if you want to travel, move or invest abroad, hit the like button, check our other videos, and most importantly, subscribe. And also, if you want to book a call, check the links in the description, contact me and see you there. So let's start. Firstly, we're going to start with the thing that matters the most, prices. In Serbia, property prices, we can divide them actually in three levels, so to say. Prices in Belgrade, the capital, prices in Novi Sad, which is the second largest city, and in the rest of the country. Prices in Belgrade are by far the highest in the country. If you want to buy property in the city center of Belgrade, you can expect to pay something around $3,000 per square meter in the center of the capital, and in other areas of the capital you can get something with an average of $1,800 per square meter. But the center is much more appealing because if you want to rent it out, for example, it better be in the center. If you want to start an Airbnb operation in Belgrade, your chances are much better in the city center, in the old town. Anyway, the second largest city is Novi Sad, which is also the second most expensive property market in Serbia. Prices usually range from 1.5k to 2.3k US dollars per square meter. If you can buy something in the old town of Novi Sad, it might be a good idea to rent it out per day, for example. And also to students, Novi Sad is a city which actually has a positive net growth of population. Then we get to the third price category in Serbia, which is basically everywhere else, which is not Belgrade or Novi Sad. This includes all the other larger cities in the country like Niš, Kragujevac and Leskovac, and you can find a good number of offers in the $1,000 range per square meter. If you don't want to invest in a city, let's say if you want to buy a countryside house, prices can easily go much lower than that. You can easily find offers for $500 per square meter of built area plus the plot. But there's a problem with liquidity. Let's say you got tired of living in countryside Serbia and you want to sell the property, it's going to be very hard to find prospective buyers. Now we're going to talk about rental yields in Serbia and also growth perspectives in the country. Rental yields in Serbia are unfortunately not particularly attractive. That is, even in Belgrade, the city with the highest demand, they will be around 3 to 4% per year at best. In Novi Sad, the second largest city in the country, you can also expect similar yields, but with a slightly lower demand. But both cities have a relatively good demand. In other cities in the country, demand is a problem. As I mentioned before, liquidity might be a problem. So if you're looking to do a buy-to-let investment, I would probably avoid other cities in Serbia. And as I have mentioned previously, if you go to the countryside, the liquidity situation is even worse. So you might find yourself in a situation that you are unable to sell the property you bought in the countryside of Serbia. You might eventually find a buyer, but for a very low price, or it might take a lot of time for you to get rid of your property. Now we're going to talk about one of the most attractive aspects of getting a property in Serbia. One of the best things about the Serbian property market is that by owning residential real estate in the country, you are able to apply for a residence permit and live in Serbia, regardless of your citizenship. You don't need to open a company or get a job or marry a Serbian person. In most countries in Europe, you can't actually buy a property and get a residence permit. There are a few countries which accept that, but most of them have a very high minimum financial investment in order to get a residence permit. In Serbia, owning real estate in the country is enough grounds to apply for a residence permit. There is no minimum amount to be invested in order to qualify. If you buy a $20,000 flat, for example, that will be enough for you to apply for a residence permit. It doesn't have to be anything like 100,000 or 500,000 like in many countries which offer a golden visa. In Serbia, you got the flat, you can apply. Serbia has a relatively stable economy with a favorable location in Central and Eastern Europe. If you move to Serbia, you will also have advantages in some types of taxes, such as capital gains taxes, which are lower in the country than in most other European nations. The same applies to cost of living. If you are moving from the US, from the UK, from Canada, from Germany, the cost of living in Serbia is much lower, so you can actually use your money, stretch your budget much longer in Serbia than in these Western countries. Now let's check some of the best websites to find property in Serbia. Let's go. So here we are to check the best websites to buy property in Serbia. The first one is halooglasi.com. You can come here and choose nekretnine, which means real estate. Then if you are using Chrome, you can actually translate this to English, but I will not. I will just use it as it is. Problem with this website is that it is completely bloated with ads. So, šta tražite? I want an apartment, which is stan. I'll just choose here the old town of Belgrade, which is Stari Grad, Beograd Stari Grad. Prodaja is for sale. Cena do is up to which price you want to filter out apartments. Let's put, I don't know, 90,000 euros. Kvadratura od is the minimum size you want the apartments to be filtered out. Let's say, I don't know, 25 square meter. And then it already says how many ads are available with these filters. And broj soba od is the minimum number of rooms you want in the apartment. I will just put one. And then it will show you the options. But I prefer actually this option here, which shows the apartments on the map. You come here to the old town and you can actually see in which street, which location. In my opinion, that's a better option than just going for the listings. Another important thing here is that you should also, in my opinion, you should avoid some types of apartments. I'll try not to get into too much details, but you should definitely avoid souterrain, which is like an underground flat. So that's it's a bit complex. That's prizemlje, which means actually ground floor. But I also try to avoid these types of flats. So anyway, you can play around with that, and we'll go to the second website, which is nekretnine.rs. Nekretnine means real estate in Serbia. Here you have similar criteria as the other site, but this time I will translate it to English. You can do that if you use Chrome, but it's also available on Firefox and other browsers. You just select whatever you want, apartments, Serbia, I don't know, you want houses, let's say, and then Serbia, and then you put some city, I don't know, Novi Sad. And so the districts of the city, I would just not put anything. Let's see what we can get for up to 70,000 euros just to see if there's anything there. Yeah, there are actually many options. Not that many actually, just a few ones. But okay, let's go back to the studio to continue our video. And now we are approaching the end of our video for today. We're gonna talk about financing and mortgages in Serbia. Another advantage of investing in real estate in Serbia is the actual condition in regards to mortgages and financing. In most countries in the region, you need to be a resident and have income in the country in order to qualify for a mortgage. So even if you live, let's say, in Hungary and you work for a US company, the US company pays you a salary in US dollars, it is not so easy to get a mortgage because banks, the risk assessment department of banks, prefer you to have income from the country in which you are living. But in Serbia, it is actually slightly different. In Serbia, there is at least one bank that allows non-resident foreigners to get a mortgage. So for example, if you are living in the UK, you're living in the US, you're living in China, you're living in any country with a good currency, let's say, and you have a salary in that country and you just came to Serbia for 10 days, if you have a steady salary, you can actually use this to apply for a mortgage for a property in Serbia. Interest rates are slightly higher if you are not a resident of Serbia, but they are not exorbitant. They actually might be a good deal depending on your situation. However, you will still have to show the proof of income from your country of residence to qualify. So, for example, you need to be in the UK, you have a salary in the UK, or you are living in Germany and you have a salary from Australia. Doesn't really matter, but you have to show a salary in order to qualify. And I'll give you my personal verdict on whether it is a good idea to invest in real estate in Serbia or not. Serbia offers interesting opportunities in the real estate market despite the timid overall market growth. As I said, Novi Sad, Belgrade, much better. Smaller cities probably should avoid. It is also a great destination if you want to buy a countryside house and retire, as prices are really low and overall infrastructure is decent. In this situation, you would buy not thinking that the prices will appreciate over time, you just buy to enjoy the property. Then there's also the residence permit situation. The residence opportunity is excellent, although other countries in the region also offer similar possibilities with very similar requirements. That's the case of Bosnia, North Macedonia and Montenegro. I personally would prefer to live in Belgrade than in any other city in these countries, but if you prefer the seaside, Montenegro has a very nice seaside and Bosnia has Neum, so might be an option as well. The possibility of financing a property is also a huge advantage to Serbia, even if you don't live in Serbia. So if you want to actually finance something and come to live in Serbia after a few years, this is an advantage in the region pretty unique to Serbia. As an investment, rental yields are really low, but prices in Belgrade, especially in more central areas, are expected to continue high. So if you buy an apartment in central Belgrade, even if the rental yield is not very appealing, over time the trend is that your property price will appreciate, at least for now. That's it for today's video. If you want to travel, move or invest abroad, hit the like button, check our other videos, contact me and book a consultation call, and the most important thing of them all, subscribe! See you next time!